This video reviews the passive voice. By the end of this video, you should remember how to use passive voice, how to form passive voice, and the three most common mistakes that writers have when using the passive voice. In English, we have the active voice and the passive voice. In the active voice, the subject is doing the action of the verb. So here's an example. I broke the window. I is our subject. Broke is our verb. Who is breaking the window? I am. The subject is doing the action. On the other hand, we have the passive voice. In the passive voice, the focus is not on who is doing the action. The subject in this sentence is the window, and the verb is was broken. So the subject here, the window, is not doing the action of breaking. It is receiving the action. We don't know, actually, in this sentence, who broke the window. It's not what is important. What is important is that the window was broken. So this is then a passive sentence where the subject is not doing the action of the sentence. To form the passive voice, we always use some form of be plus the past participle. Remember, the past participle is sometimes thought of as the third form of the verb. Remember, we can use the passive voice in all the different tenses. So here we have 4 of the tenses. The first one is present perfect. If the verb is break, the passive form has be, is, plus the past participle, broken, is broken. In number 2, we have the present progressive form, is being broken. In number 3 here, we have was broken, which is the past form. It still has a form of to be, but it's in the past, was broken. And the past progressive was being broken. And it can be formed in the other tenses as well. Here we have the present perfect, has been broken. Present perfect is always a form of have plus the past participle. To make it passive, present perfect passive, we have to have a form of be. So it's has been broken, present perfect. Had been broken, past perfect. Will be broken for the future. Will have been broken for the future perfect. And then with the modal, we use the modal for can. We still need that form of be plus the past participle, can be broken, or in the past, could have been broken. There are 3 common problems with making the passive voice. And the first most common problem is that writers do not form the passive correctly. Here are 2 examples. Number 1, some pronunciation problems can be fixed easily. Okay, so this isn't formed correctly. We have a modal can, which is okay. We have a form of be, which is okay. We need that. But the third thing is it needs to have that past participle. So it has to be problems can be fixed easily. In our second example here, your grades will sent next week. Your grades is a subject. Will is showing the future tense, okay, which is okay. But if the grades are not doing the action, they're receiving the action, we need the passive, which means we have to have a form of to be, which would be for the future, and then the past participle. So your grades will be sent next week. The second most common mistake with the passive voice is using the active voice when you need to be using the passive voice. Here is a good example. A new air conditioner will install next week. So our subject is a new air conditioner. Okay. Here is our verb, will install. So, who is doing the installing? Well, we don't know who is doing the installing, which means the subject is not doing the action, it is receiving the action, which means we need to make it a passive voice sentence. So this would have to be changed to a new air conditioner will be installed with an ed for the past participle next week. The third most common error in using the passive is the opposite of number 2. It is when students or writers are using the passive voice when it should not be used. Here is an example. While in New York City last month, we were stayed in a hotel near Wall Street. Here is our subject, we. Here is our verb, were stayed in a hotel near Wall Street. Now, if we is our subject and were stayed is our verb, the subject is doing the action. We are staying. We are the ones doing it. But this form is the passive. It has were stayed. So it has to be changed to active. We stayed in a hotel near Wall Street. So those are the most common errors of passive voice. To help yourself, always pay attention to your subject and verbs. Think to yourself, are they doing the action or receiving the action? And make sure your verb matches your meaning.